Kumusta po kayo mga kabayan? This video will mainly be in English but with a little bit of Tagalog for portions only applicable to OFWs. Now if you want to see the pure Tagalog version of this, go to our YouTube page and find this featured video. Naka-pure Tagalog po yan. Now if you are flying to the Philippines, click the subscribe button and the notification bell to get all the important updates related to your travel. Many thanks again to your likes and feedback on the comment section and to those who trust our channel as source of information to their travel-related questions. Now, lately po, many people have tested positive in the quarantine hotels. The IATF and DOH clarified the isolation protocol, so please watch until the end so you'd know what to expect when you arrive. Now, if you are flying very soon, we highly recommend that you please get a paper and a pen and take down some notes. In the end, you will realize that you will have your own checklist based on where you are coming from, which airline you will take, and at which Philippine airport you will be arriving at. Now, we designed this video to make the explanation in a way that everyone of all ages would be able to understand. So this could be very detailed for some who already knows what to do. So please be patient. Okay, starting January 16, this is the arrival protocol in the Philippines. Step 1 is RT-PCR.
International arriving passengers shall be required to present a negative RT-PCR test taken within 48 hours prior to departure from country of origin.
Now, please listen very carefully. This is the number one most important thing you have to do. The airlines will not allow you to board if you fail to comply with this requirement. Remember po, all passengers 4 years old and above are required to take this. 3 years old and below are exempted. Okay, so Filipino or not, fully vaccinated or not, even those who recovered from COVID, regardless of your country of origin, green, yellow, or red, everyone, all, lahat, required po. So, now when do you take your RT-PCR test? Your reference shall always be the departure date and time from your country of origin, not your arrival time and date to the Philippines. Now, if you have a transit, no matter how long this transit is, your reference is still the departure date and time from your country of origin. Now, if you have a domestic flight, your reference will be the last flight leaving your country of origin. In this example, Los Angeles. You will be leaving USA through Los Angeles and not San Francisco. Okay, now you know your departure city. Next, on your paper, write down your departure date. For the purpose of this example, let's say January 29. Then, write your departure time. For example, 9 p.m. Now, write 2 days before your departure, January 27 and January 28. So, because your departure time is 9 p.m., on January 27, same time, 9 p.m. So 9 in the evening will be the start of your 48 hours window to take your RT-PCR test. Please note, this is the time of the actual swabbing, the time when the sample will be taken from you, not the time the result is released. So the time when you are swabbed will be written in your test certificate and it will be strictly checked by the airlines. You will not be allowed to board if you fail to meet the 48 hours before departure criteria. Now, if your test result is positive, you cannot and you should not board the aircraft or even go to the airport. What you must present is a negative RT-PCR test valid for 48 hours. Step number 2, One Health Pass. All passengers are required to register in the One Health Pass website, even children, infants, and the elderly. We have a separate tutorial video about One Health Pass. We will provide the link in the description box. This is the number 2 most important thing that you need. All airlines will check this and they will not let you board without this. This is a website po. This is not a mobile app. Step 3, Airport Requirement. Requirement of the airport you will land at. So, You already know where you will land, but you should also be informed of the requirements of other Philippine airports because many are diverted or rerouted due to the travel cap limit in Manila. So instead of canceling the flights, what the airlines usually do is to divert your flight to another airport. Okay, for those landing in Manila, Cebu, Lawag, and Bohol, all passengers, you only need the One Health Pass QR code. However, for Clark landings, in addition to the One Health Pass, for OFWs, register in Red Cross ECIF or Dash Lab. That's the same thing. Now, for non-OFWs, you must register in PadLab. For those who will land in Subic, apart from the One Health Pass, register in Red Cross ECIF. For those who will land in Davao, in addition to the One Health Pass, register in Safe Davao QR. All links are in the description box and we will also put them in the comment section. Okay, how about your international transit or stopover or connecting flights? If you have a transit or you have to check the requirements of your transit countries po. As of today, because the requirement in the Philippines is 48 hours, then it fits into the requirements of most transit countries like Kuwait, Hong Kong, Singapore, which are the strictest in terms of transit requirement. So, your 48 hours RT-PCR will cover this requirement. Others are not looking for anything like this, like Dubai and Doha, and others are looking for only 72 hours, like Malaysia and Thailand. If their RT-PCR requirement is 72 hours, then your 48 hours RT-PCR will cover this. Okay. Please be reminded, transit in Taiwan is still not possible. For those with transit in Malaysia, terminal-to-terminal transfer is not allowed. Example, Kuala Lumpur Terminal 1 to Terminal 2, this is not possible for non-Malaysian citizens and residents. You will be held and could be quarantined there. For those who have transit in Thailand, especially those who are flying via Qatar Airways from Europe, other passengers are complaining that those at the check-in counter are looking for a transit visa and they were not allowed to board. The others do not have travel health insurance in Thailand. They were denied at check-in. So please be sure to call your airlines or travel agencies to clarify all these requirements. Step number 4, airline requirement. Okay, so we don't know which airline you will take, but I am sure most of you will fly via multiple airlines. So we will present the requirement of all the airlines flying to the Philippines. Just find your airline and take note of the requirement. Okay, as of this time, Philippine Airlines, Emirates, ANA, Kuwait Airways, Etihad, Oman Air, Gulf Air, Asiana Airlines, and United Airlines have no additional requirements. But you need to always check because it can change anytime. Okay, some airlines are looking for Red Cross ECIF. Why so? Isn't it that in Manila we only need the One Health Pass? Answer, they are not updated on the protocol somehow. The protocol in the Philippines is being changed twice a month. So the airlines cannot keep up with this. The check-in staff somehow cannot keep up with this as well. So unfortunately, you have to follow what is written in your airline guidelines. Otherwise, you risk yourself being denied boarding. Okay, please listen, all passengers of Saudi Airlines and Turkish Airlines, whichever Philippine airport you will land at, register in Red Cross ECIF. Okay, next, for OFW, sino po yung mga OFW yung pasahero ng KLM dito? Please register in Red Cross ECIF. For land-based OFWs, you will fly via Japan Airlines, mag-register po sa Red Cross ECIF. Okay, next, who are the non-OFWs here? For non-OFWs, you will board Cathay Pacific, Cebu Pacific, KLM, Japan Airlines, Qatar Airways. If so, then you have to register in PadLab. Okay, you can pay the PadLab when you arrive at the airport in the Philippines. If you are flying via Philippine Airlines, another option for you is Detoxicare. They have this expedited swab test result, of course with an extra cost. But in my opinion, since we keep on buying this idea of expedited swab test, then do you think they will still improve on their normal testing? I don't think so. Okay. Next, who are the seamen here? The sailors, mga marino po. If you are boarding via Japan Airlines or Qatar Airways, register in First Aid. Okay, next, all. I repeat, all passengers. Download and install the Trace app. This is mandatory according to the guideline of all your airlines. We have a tutorial on the Trace app. Step 5. Check-in. At the check-in counter, all the required documents will be asked from you. Okay, so One Health Pass QR code, Trace app, and if Red Cross and PadLab are required by your airlines, you will have to do those as well. Okay, very important, 48 hours RT-PCR test on everyone except 3 years old and below. Okay, now for non-OFWs and foreign nationals, a confirmed hotel booking will also be asked.
If you are a non-OFW, first of all, before leaving your point of departure, your point of origin, for example, if you're coming from the United States, the Middle East, or various parts of the globe, prior to arriving in the Philippines, first of all, you must have a confirmed hotel reservation in a quarantine hotel that is accredited by the Philippine government. You must do all of these even before taking your flight to Manila. For OFWs, if you are a land-based OFW, it is the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration which will shoulder your quarantine. And if you are a sea-based OFW, it will be the Marina or the Maritime Industry Authority.
This is the guide for non-OFW and foreign nationals. If you are fully vaccinated, bring your vaccination certificate. For those from the green list countries, fully vaccinated, no quarantine is required from you, but your vaccination document must be valid. Yellow country, fully vaccinated, present a confirmed hotel booking for 6 days or 5 nights. Red country, confirmed hotel booking for 8 days or 7 nights. Now, if the vaccine is incomplete or if you are unvaccinated or you are vaccinated but the Bureau of Quarantine will not honor your vaccination document, here is your guide. Green country, show a confirmed hotel booking for 6 days or 5 nights. Yellow country, 8 days or 7 nights. Red country, 10 days or 9 nights. At check-in, there are airline staff who are strict like Emirates, and they will check the date of EHDC submission. So if your flight, for example, is January 29, the date of your One Health Pass EHDC submission must be -1 day or the day of the flight itself. So if the flight is January 29, what should be seen here must be -1 day or January 28, or maybe the day of the flight, which is January 29. Next, for those who have transit, it is very important to know the requirement of the transit country. Avoid transit to Malaysia and Thailand if possible. But if you have transit there, just make sure you call your airlines or the travel agency and find out the complete requirement. Next, travel documents. Of course, your valid foreign passport if you are a foreign national. Sa mga Filipino, kung direct flight po kayo at for good na kayo sa Pilipinas, usually tinatanggap po yung passport kahit less than 6 months. Ang problema lang po minsan kapag may transit tayo, yung mga airline staff, pag hindi nila sigurado, ang ginagawa na lang hindi kayo pinapasakay. So, mas okay po pumunta ng embahada, alamin kung pwedeng ma-extend o ma-renew yung pasaporte. Next, documented OFW. May mga airline po na naghahanap ng patunay kung OFW nga ba kayo. Ulitin ko po, may mga airline na pwede itong hanapin tulad ng Emirates, pwedeng hindi. So kung hanapin, mabuti nang prepared tayo. Kapag hindi hinanap, wala naman pong nawala sa atin. Ayon po sa Emirates website, ito po ang pwede ninyong dalhin. So alin po ba dyan ang meron kayo? Isulat na po ninyo sa papel para hindi nyo po makalimutang dalhin. Okay, kung kayo po ay undocumented OFW, nawala ng trabaho, mga tapos na ang kontrata, kayo po ay OFW pa rin. Dalhin lang yung mga lumang dokumento ng pagiging OFW ninyo. Kung wala kayong validated contract ng POLO or POEA tulad ng mga direct hire, kailangan nyo pong makipag-ugnayan sa POLO para po maproseso ang inyong dokumento. Now, if you are a balikbayan or former Filipino, you are a citizen of another country already, or you are a dual citizen, apart from your foreign passport, you need to bring either a birth certificate or your valid or your old or even your expired Philippine passport. Why? Because you will not be allowed to board without proof that you have a Filipino blood. Because right now, foreigners are not allowed to enter the Philippines without a valid and existing visa. So if you are a former Filipino or dual citizen, you have to prove your Filipino roots. Now, if you do not have these documents, bring your identification certificate or your recognition certificate or your retention or reacquisition certificate. For your foreign national spouses or children, if they are traveling with you, if they are a national of visa-free country based on EO 408 like USA, UK, Australia, and 154 more countries, the link is in the description box. They can enter the Philippines and avail of the balikbayan privilege. To prove their affiliation with you, they must present a birth certificate for your child or a marriage contract for your spouse. If it's not in English, then the document must be translated into English and this translation must be notarized. If the documents are issued by a foreign government, it has to be authenticated. You need an apostille for this. Now, even if they are traveling with you but they are not nationals of any EO 408 country, they will need a valid or existing visa. And to be always safe, always bring their birth certificate or your marriage contract to prove their relation with you. Now, if your foreign national spouse or children will not travel with you, even if they are a national of visa-free country based on EO 408, they will only be allowed if they have a valid and existing visa. Then, they also need to bring the proof of affiliation, birth certificate, or marriage contract. If not in English, should be translated and notarized and authenticated if issued by a foreign government. Now, all other foreign nationals not legally affiliated with a Filipino citizen, you can only enter if you have a valid and existing visa. Foreign tourists po, unfortunately, still not allowed.
No po. Ang tourism purposes natin is not yet. We have not yet allowed that. If you would remember, nung December sana, papayagan na sana po natin yung tourism related travel into the Philippines by international tourists coming from green list countries. But that was suspended.
Then, exit requirement, you must follow the policy of the country of origin. For example, in Saudi Arabia, you need the Tawakal na app and exit visa. Next, bring a face mask. Then, the face shield is only mandatory when the city of arrival is on alert level 3. At the moment, all airports in the Philippines are at alert level 3, so the face shield is only voluntary. Okay, step 6, arrival at the airport. So if you did all the registrations, based on our kababayans who returned home, their travel was smooth. Now, you will still have to fill out a lot of forms, so make sure you bring your own pen. Other than that, actually your arrival will be smooth and fast. Now, when you arrive at the Philippine airport, you need to know this. The first airport you will land at, you have to get off there, because that is where you will be quarantined. This has been confirmed by Philippine Airlines. Now, for Emirates passengers, Emirates is not answering our inquiries. So, if you are flying via Emirates, you have to ask them, especially those with route Dubai to Cebu to Clark as final destination. So, one thing is for sure, for Philippine Airline passengers, your first point of entry is where you will be quarantined. Example po, Dubai to Davao to Manila, you will deplane in Davao. You will complete your quarantine there if you are required to go on hotel quarantine. If not, for those green country and fully vaccinated, upon validation by the Bureau of Quarantine, you can already go home. So what happens to your connecting flight for those who are required to do a hotel quarantine? If you are an OFW, after your quarantine, you can avail of the OWA Uwian Na program. They have chartered buses and flights to your final destination paid for by the government. Now, for non-OFWs, your flight to your final destination can be rebooked free of charge, even if you have already arrived in the Philippines. So you can book it on a date when your quarantine ends. Okay, when you land at the airport, the Philippine Coast Guard personnel will give you a briefing. So you don't have to worry about the protocol, whether it is long or it changes while you are on board. It will be explained to you when you arrive and you will given due instructions. Next, there is a queue for OFWs and there is a queue for non-OFWs. The Bureau of Quarantine or BOQ will validate your One Health Pass QR code and your vaccination certificate if you are vaccinated. Mixed vaccine is accepted. If you don't have a booster shot, it's okay as long as you are fully vaccinated. Next, for non-OFWs only, if you have not yet paid for the hotel swab test, you can pay at the airport. It's better if you have a Philippine peso. Then everything else is the same. Clear the immigration, claim your luggage, and clear the customs. Next, if you are required to quarantine, for OFWs, there is a free OWA bus or shuttle service to your free quarantine facility. If you are required to quarantine for non-OFWs, you will board your pre-arranged or accredited transport service. Private service, it's not possible. Okay, at the airport, you can book your transport to the hotel, such as the yellow airport taxi. We advise you, if you don't have a Philippine SIM card, buy one at the airport. You may need it while you are on quarantine. When you go home to the province, the other provinces are requiring an S-Pass, so you will need a Philippine number. Okay, step 7, quarantine hotel. The length of the quarantine will depend on where you will come from, green or yellow or red, and whether you are fully vaccinated or not. Before that, an important change for red countries. The red country no longer has a travel ban, so everyone can go home. Okay, so let's go to the green country protocol. If you are fully vaccinated with accepted documents, you will no longer have to quarantine. You can go straight home and self-monitor only for 7 days. You may arrange your own transport, but please make sure you call your barangay or the local government unit to ask about their local protocol. Okay, so for the unvaccinated, partially vaccinated, and those with unverified vaccination documents, you will have to quarantine. Day 1 is the day when you land at the airport. Even if you arrive at the airport at night, that is your day 1. Now, on day 5, you will be swabbed. When the result comes out and it is negative, you can go home and just self-monitor until day 7. Day 1 starts on the day you arrive at the airport. The day you spent in the hotel is also counted. Okay, let's go to the yellow list. If you are fully vaccinated with accepted documents, here is your protocol. Day 1 is your arrival at the airport. Even if you arrive in the evening, that's your day 1. On day 5, you will have an RT-PCR test. When the result is negative, you can go home. Then you need to do home quarantine until day 7. Day 1 starts on the day you arrive at the airport. The day you spent in the hotel is also counted. For the unvaccinated, partially vaccinated, and those with unverified vaccination documents, you have to quarantine. Day 1 is your arrival at the airport. On day 5, you will have an RT-PCR test. When the result is negative, you can go home already. And you need to do just the home quarantine until day 14. Day 1 starts on the day you arrive at the airport. The day you spent in the hotel is also counted. Okay, let's go to the red list. As announced by the IATF, everyone can go home even if you are coming from a red list country. If you are fully vaccinated with accepted documents, here is your protocol. Day 1 is your arrival at the airport. Even if you arrive during the night, that's your day 1. On day 7, you will have an RT-PCR test. When the result is negative, you can go home and you need to do home quarantine until day 14. Day 1 starts on the day you arrive at the airport. The day you spent in the hotel will also be counted. Okay, for the unvaccinated, partially vaccinated, and those with unverified vaccination documents, you have to quarantine. Day 1 is your arrival at the airport. Even if you arrive during the night, that's your day 1. On day 7, you will have an RT-PCR test. But even if the result comes out negative, you will stay in the mandatory hotel quarantine until day 10. You will only be allowed to go home on day 10 onwards, but your result should be negative. Now, You need to do home quarantine until day 14. Day 1 starts on the day you arrive at the airport. The day you spent in the hotel will be included in the counting. Okay, what about those who are only transiting in a red country? Just do not leave the airport. Do not clear the immigration of your transit country and ensure that you are not stamped in your passport by a red country immigration. Okay, while you are in quarantine, for non-OFWs before your swab day, please make sure you have an email confirmation from your swabber to acknowledge the date and hotel where you will be swabbed. For OFWs, when your swab day arrives, if the swabber does not arrive, call your hotel reception to follow up. So, kulitin nyo po sila. When you are swabbed, you can monitor the swab test result using One Health Pass. There is a track swab test icon on One Health Pass. With One Health Pass, you will also be able to see your RT-PCR test result. If it is negative, please call the hotel reception and tell them that you are negative and that you want to go home already. Please also ask them to print the BOQ certificate because you will need it to go home. Now, if you are positive, this is the new protocol according to the IATF and Department of Health.
Ang mga hotel na ginagamit na quarantine facilities ay pupwede na ring magamit bilang isolation facilities, subject to specific protocols ng Bureau of Quarantine, Department of Health.
In the unfortunate event that you test positive while you are in the quarantine hotel, this is the isolation protocol. If you don't have any symptom, it means you are asymptomatic. For fully vaccinated, 7 days po isolation. For unvaccinated, 10 days isolation. The counting will start on the day you were tested, not the day of the result. For mild cases, fully vaccinated, 7 days. For unvaccinated, 10 days. Now, the difference here is that the counting will start on the day you started to exhibit symptoms. Okay, for moderate cases, fully vaccinated or not, always 10 days isolation. Counting will start on the day you started to exhibit symptoms. For severe cases, fully vaccinated or not, always 21 days isolation. The counting will start on the day you start to exhibit symptoms. Okay, the difference here is if you are immunocompromised, for example, you have autoimmune diseases, you have HIV, you have cancer, they will do a repeat RT-PCR test after 21 days and the result must be negative. Okay, if the result is negative, before you go home, you should have talked to your LGU or local government unit already, or municipal hall, city hall, and barangay. Please ask them what is their local requirement because it differs from place to place. You can use your RT-PCRs at the hotel if you are asked to. So, your BOQ quarantine certificate and vaccination certificate must also be with you at this time. So, now there are provinces that require an S-Pass. So, you have to check this. Now, finally, you are homebound. For OFWs, ihatid po kayo ng OWA sa inyong probinsya gamit ang kanilang mga chartered bus sa PITX sa mga Taga-Luzon. Ngayon, kailangan nyo pong mag-register sa OWA Uwian na program. Sa pagdating po ninyo ng airport, may mga OWA staff na po doon. Pati sa hotel, may OWA staff din po doon. Pwede nyo po silang tanungin tungkol dito. Sa mga uuwi ng Visayas at Mindanao, mayroon din po mga chartered flights. Bayad po yan ng gobyerno. Please note, hindi po ito door-to-door service. May mga designated drop-off point lang po sa inyong mga lugar. Para naman po sa mga diverted sa ibang airport, example Davao, Cebu, Clark, Subic, or Bohol, libre pa rin po ang inyong flight pabalik ng inyong final destination, halimbawa Maynila. Then pagdating ng Maynila, dadalhin pa ulit kayo sa PITX para sa inyong libreng pag-uwi sa probinsya. For non-OFWs, unfortunately, you will shoulder all your expenses. But the important thing naman po is that you arrive safe and healthy. So your relatives are allowed to pick you up at the hotel for those who will quarantine. Or they can also pick you up at the airport for those who are not required to do hotel quarantine. But the important thing here is that you have to coordinate with your LGU and ask them if they will allow it. Okay, at PITX for bus passengers or at the airport for chartered flight passengers, you will be given final instructions by the Philippine authorities. Then upon arrival at your home, complete your IATF requirement, whether it's self-monitoring or home quarantine. Okay, this is where our long conversation ends. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to put them in the comment section. If it cannot be answered right away, please watch the video again because most of the questions are already answered in this video. While waiting for your trip, please watch the video again because you may have forgotten something, or maybe request those who will help you to register to watch this video so that they know what to do also. Please subscribe to our channel and like the video to reach more kababayans. Thank you very much. Magbuhay po kayo. We wish you a safe journey and see you on the next update.